Welcome to Mikes and Mayhem with Jenna, Wrenn, and Maddie Morrow.
I'm Jenna, Wrenn, and we're rolling out looking for America's greatest diners, drive-ins, and dives.
And I'm Maddie, the time-traveling salesman from Asgard.
Whoa, we have mics, and we are here to bring you mayhem.
Yes, all of the mayhem. So now we will be reviewing the very first episode of the anime series called Sasaki and Peeps. Neither of us have seen this show or really heard much about it. So we went into this without any sort of preconceived notions. So completely blind review, I guess.
Yeah, and we're going to be going over just the first episode because it was about 48 minutes long, so it's the equivalent of basically 2 episodes. And going forward, we're going to be doing 2 episodes at a time. So it just made sense this way to just talk about the first episode. We also did watch the dub version, so if that makes a difference to you, just so you're aware, it is the dub. And we might spoil some things, so if you don't want to be spoiled and want to go into the show completely blind like we did, save this video, come back when you have watched episode 1, and we will be here for you.
Yes. So, Jenna, first impressions.
First thought, knee-jerk thought. I love that the main character is an adult. That's like one of the things that I noticed right away and I really like because a lot, if not all of the anime, I think that, not all, but most of the anime I watch, it's led by a teenager or a young adult. And even if there are adults, they typically are like a tertiary character. So it was super cool to see somebody who was in his late 30s because it's relatable. I am also, well, I'm in my mid-30s. I'm not going to go with late 30s yet. I'm also in my mid-30s, work a 9 to 5 like Sasaki. So it was super relatable to see someone like me reflected on TV. And I really like that it's kind of got like a silly feel, but at the same time, it's like there's stakes to it. There's definitely some sort of stakes that clearly you can see are going to come up after this first episode. What about you? What are your initial reactions?
I enjoyed it. Like you said with Sasaki, it's nice to see like a fully fleshed out adult character. And even in this episode, he talks about, staring down his 40s, right? So again, it's nice to see someone working like a stereotypical office job, and he doesn't make very much money, but he's making the most of it. I don't think it's gonna like skyrocket to one of my favorite shows or anything, but I'm here for it, and I'll look forward to more.
Right. It's a definitely a change of pace. It's different than something else, like other things that I've watched. And I actually wrote down a quote from the beginning of the episode, and he said he was talking about, like you mentioned, he's staring down he's staring down 40. He's 39. I think they say he's 39, and he's like, "Oh, I was around when the employment level was really low." So, which is funny because, again, like when I graduated college was like right when the employment market went down, and it was really relatable. And he says, "Because of that, I don't leave my bubble. I'm grateful to have a consistent job that needs doing to keep me feeling useful. If nothing else, I've got that." And it was just, like I said, it's super relatable. It's not somebody with magical powers, or it's not like a kid who's like, "I'm going to go and save the world." It's just this dude who doesn't really like his job, but he's content because he makes money and pays the bills. And that was like super relatable.
But with the magical powers thing, like I said in the beginning, we went to this like with no idea what we were getting into. I did read like the summary, like on Crunchyroll that says like this is what the show is about, obviously. And so I knew there were going to be magical elements, but I wasn't expecting them to arise the way that they did. Peeps is a bird, and Sasaki wants a pet. Another way Sasaki is relatable is he like gushes over cute pet videos. There's a scene where his coworkers are showing off like pictures of their cats, and he's just like, "Oh, cuteness overload!"
Oh my god, that's so me. I'm on both him and the coworker because I am always showing off pictures of my cats and always gushing over cats. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And so, he adopts this bird And according to the summary of the show, the bird is actually a mage from another world. And so I was like half expecting like isekai type thing, but no one's been reincarnated like actively on screen, which is like what an isekai is. And so it's just he adopts this bird and he brings it home, and there's not even like time with the two of them. It's not even like, oh, it's a cute bird. And then the next day or like 2 days later, he finds out what it is. It's immediate. Like he gets home and the bird is like, hi, this is my name. This is who I am. And this is what I do. And he's like, what? What? Just like me, I had the same reaction he did. I was like, that was fast. He got
But
this
he just like
mate.
rolls with it. He just is like, that's the funny part of it to me, is like there's no like cliche, oh my god, what is going on? Magic is real. Like he's just like, oh, my birdie is talking to me. And then he's just like, oh, he's like really talking to me and telling me he's from another world and wants to take me there. Cool, I'm down. Let's go. Like it's
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah, he just rolls with it. And it like is a little slow in the beginning, but I know a lot of like anime or even shows in general can be a little slow, especially if they're like building the story right and you're kind of getting to know the main character and stuff. But it wasn't slow in a bad way. It was slow, like it felt like a slice of life at first. And I know that that's not the genre of the show, but it was like he's going to work and then he like teleports to this other world and they're like doing some shopping and selling things and showing off the bird's magic. To see him like you said roll with it was adorable.
It's so cute, and I love that he just is like fully in on the bird even before he knows that it's this like magical bird. He's like, "My birdie is so cute. Look at him!" And he buys a little backpack, like those like little backpacks that you can carry your cat in that almost look like a little space capsule. Like he's got one with his bird, and it's so pure. Like he just loves this bird. He wants companionship, and it's like sad in a way because he is lonely,
Mhm.
and like I think at the core of it, like there's this idea of he's trying to find himself outside of the world of like capitalism. He's trying to kind of escape from it. So he gets a companion and then he like quite literally escapes from the real world. He quite literally goes into this other world that Peeps is from. Also, I just love that Peeps is like, "My name is Pierre Carlo." And he's like, "What?" And Peeps is like, "I'm Pierre Carlo." And then Sasaki's like, "I'm going to call you Peeps." It's so silly.
It is very silly. And yeah, he like he wants whatever's best for his bird. He's like, I want to take care of you, because he goes into this pet store like on a whim, which I feel like a lot of single adults tend to do. Like, you don't want to be by yourself, right? And so he goes in and he's like, I want a dog. And he's like, oh, dogs are really expensive. I'm like, yes, as a dog owner, dogs are really expensive. And then he sees this bird that's more of an affordable price. And he's like, I want this bird. And then he like buys like the best bird seed he can. And then Peeps just turns around and is like, I want steak. Like, he's like, actually, I heard this employee at the pet store talk about this amazing meal and I want it. And Sasaki's like, I mean, I can try to get you something close, but I'm so poor. And then I feel like Peeps was like, okay, well, if I'm going to live the extravagant life that I want, you're going to have to make more money. Like,
It's so funny. And I love that, a little bit later on when they're in, I don't know, did they do name the continent or the world that Peeps is from. I didn't write it down.
yeah,
But when they go there, food is actually a really big part of it because Sasaki opens a restaurant. He's got like extra money, all this stuff, and he can eat really well there. He can live a better lifestyle there. So he's like sitting down with Peeps and they're eating steak or whatever. And this little like caption pops up on the bottom and it says, "Do not feed meat to Java sparrows that aren't reincarnations of star sages." And it's so funny. Peeps is just going to town on like a full steak, but it's just a really wholesome part of it, you know?
I really loved the disclaimer. I was cracking up. I was like, okay, I don't know. I have never heard of a Java sparrow before, and I don't know if they're like native to Japan. I just loved that there was the warning of like, don't feed birds steak. But then they had to add that's not a reincarnated sage because, like, oh, are other Java sparrows reincarnated star
You know, it's funny too because there is this whole obviously this whole storyline is that Peeps is a star sage, this whole thing, right? But we don't know how he came to be reincarnated as a bird. We don't know how he came to be in the real world, and we don't know like what he used to do or what his goal is. Like, is his goal only I want really good food so this human is gonna like get a job? Like, is like he is teaching Sasaki magic, but there's no ulterior motive to it. There's no I'm gonna teach you magic so you can go fight crime. Like, he's just like make your life easier. So we don't there's so many unknown elements about Peep still that I'm curious to see where that goes.
Yeah, and this was just the first episode. And I'm really curious as to why the first episode was 48 minutes long versus just like a standard 24-minute episode because they could have split it in half. Like it could have easily been two episodes. There, the story would not have like been cut off if they had ended it at a certain like halfway mark and then continued. So I don't think I've ever experienced an anime where the first episode was really long. And I will admit at first that did kind of deter me just because of my attention span.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, it's fine. Like I will go through it. And I'm glad I did. Was a little slow, but not in a bad way, like in a more comforty kind of way. And the magic elements are really cute until we suddenly realize that people in his world can also do things like this. And I will say I gasped a little bit because I was like, wait, hold on. Like, so all of a sudden, like, and so my first thought was, are other people teleporting back and forth between Peeps World and Japan, or what is happening? And then you find out that like people are called psychics, and there's this whole like super secret like government organization of people who have these powers. And for me, that was a very odd twist, but not like a bad twist. It was just completely unexpected.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I was really shocked when they did that reveal, and I thought the same thing you did. I was like, "Oh, they must be like from Peeps's world. It makes sense." But then they do say that they're people who have developed powers there, or I think they even say at one point they mentioned like a completely different continent, so different from Peeps's world. And I thought at first it's funny because when they do the reveal, Sasuke is actually drunk. So at first I was like, is it going to turn out that like he thought this guy had like a knife hand and he was just a little drunk and mistook it and he revealed his powers? Like that's kind of how I thought it was going to go.
Yes,
But
me too.
yeah, but he was completely like he was seeing things completely clearly. So the fact that he was drunk didn't even play a part. So it did give me a little bit of it reminded me a little bit of Bungo, how you have the whole, armed detective agency that's a shady arm of the government. Not shady, but a secret arm of the government. So it kind of reminded me of that when they revealed, yeah, there are these people who have powers and a lot of them either work for this arm of the government that's super secret or they're at least registered through this arm of the government to keep tabs on these psychics slash magic users.
Peeps talks about how they are not using mana in like a magic sense. So it is different from the magic that they use in Peeps's world. I really wish we remembered the name of it because it would be, but I like Peeps's world too. It's cute. The magic is different because the people in Japan and across the globe, apparently, who can use, you know, whatever these powers are, only have one, whereas Sasaki has learned like different spells. So it's not like he was born with this innate, magic inside of him. He learned how to do this. But he has to pretend like he only has the one power. And then this poor guy who already is like, I don't want to, work more than I need to because my job is already exhausting, is then thrown into, oh, hey, you're going to work for us now because you have all these powers. So not only is he working his 9 to 5, he has to work for this organization while also maintaining this relationship he's built with the other world. But thankfully, for his sake, when he teleports, I guess the time is different. So, like, only a few minutes in our world pass when he's gone for like several hours. But this poor guy, like, he's handed a work phone for this government organization, and he's like, really? I have to take your calls? Like,
It's so funny because he tries like his internal monologue is trying to like lie his way out of having more responsibility.
yep.
And it's like so real. He's like, well, if I let them know that like I'm actually really good at magic, then they're going to want me to do more. And I don't want to do too much. And they're going to make me work like these extra hours. So he tries to downplay these spells that he's learned, but he still winds up accidentally getting like roped into it because the spells he can do wind up, I guess, like complementing the skills that the agent he's working with has. So he accidentally, like, even though he undersells himself, it's just the right skill he needs in order to be pulled into field work, basically.
Hoshizaki is the name of this like woman that he saves who's being attacked in the alley, and then it turns out she's an agent for this organization called the Paranormal Phenomena Countermeasure Bureau. Like, it's a mouthful. Like, that's a lot to
It's so
say.
silly.
Yeah, she can like manipulate water, but she needs water to do it. And Sasaki unfortunately reveals to her that he can shoot ice. That's his magic. And she's like, oh, great. I don't have to carry water around with me because you have the water I can use. And he's like, ah,
Crap.
great.
Hoshisaki, that's her name, right?
hmm
It reminded me a little bit of Avatar, The Last Airbender. And I also had thought that earlier in the show, too, when I was going to call him Peeps. When Sasaki is learning how to do different spells, he does water, fire, earth, air.
Yes.
He does the elements. And then this comes back like later when Hoshisaki says, oh, I can't make water myself, so I carry a water bottle. And it reminded me of Katara with her like pouch of water that she always carries. So I do wonder if it was influenced, if like maybe the creator is a fan of Avatar, because it was the way it was done too was very much like Avatar. Like he's almost bending the elements in the one scene where he's learning the different spells.
Yes, I was half expecting air, but then they chose ice instead. So it was like water, fire, earth. And yeah, he like slams the earth, and so it does look like it's like, being bent like in Avatar. And so I was half expecting air, but then like I said, they did the ice shards. And so I'm curious too. I think that I feel like Avatar does have like a lot of influence on a lot of things. It's, it's a great series that is beloved by so many people. So it wouldn't be surprising if that was like some of the inspiration behind that scene in particular.
Yeah, especially the way, like you said, the way he does the earth. I'm going to call it earth bending, but the earth spell is blatantly like tough, like hitting the ground, and the way it spins out. It's very much like even the intro of Avatar, where it's water, fire, earth. It's like very much almost animated just like that.
So it'll be interesting if he gets to use any of the other magic. There was a scene where he tried to use the fire at first and ended up like the fire alarm went off in the bathroom at his day job, which is so funny because like I like when the main characters like don't do so well. Like it's always refreshing when they like fail at something. Um, and so for him to like almost set his like the bathroom on fire was kind of hilarious.
It was really funny, and I do like that it set up towards the end of it, it set up that there are going to be high stakes. This is not just a silly little, I'm going to transport and sell my goods to another world, and I'm going to go eat really good in another world. It's set up these high stakes that are about to happen. You know, you have the man who becomes Satsuki's boss is like the leader of this paranormal whatever the whole
Mhm.
branch was called, and voiced by David Wald. And it sets up that he's going to be I think he's going to be the big bad. I mean, it
Mhm.
sets it up like he's up. What does he want from Sasuke? What is his motive here? At the very end, he's clearly up to some nefarious doings.
Yes, and it's funny because Jenna and I watched this separately, but we were talking to each other about it. And when, the boss calls Sasaki, apparently, so backing up a little bit, Peeps found a bug like planted in Sasaki's apartment. He was like, there was someone in your apartment. And he's like, oh, great. They're already like coming into my space and invading my space, right? And so they destroy the bug that's in his apartment because Sasaki's like, I'm not doing anything. Like, there's no reason to watch me. Like, stop it, please, right? I'm already getting weird vibes from you. And so then the boss calls and he's like, good job. Most people end up like giving themselves away or like, they don't know that we were there and then we can't trust people and you know what happens when we can't trust people, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this is nefarious. Like, I was not expecting a bad guy, so, already. And then I get a text from Jenna and she goes, oh my gosh, this guy's so nefarious. And oh, same brain.
It was just like it's like the perfect word to describe him. Like I can't even think of another word. Like it encapsulates this guy and his vibes he's giving off. Like the way
Mhm.
he speaks to Sasuke, he definitely talks like, of course, because it's David Wald, I'm picturing like he's like a watered down version of Adam. Like Adam is so extra in Skate, but he's got that like, what are you up to? Like, what are you doing kind of vibe. And I do like that Sasuke is not just like a pushover. He's not just like a wishy-washy character. Like he doesn't immediately bend to this guy or say, "Oh, I'm so sorry that I destroyed your bug." He's like, "Don't ever bug my place again, or I will never work for you. Do not come into my space." Like he has a backbone to stand up to this nefarious David Wald.
Yeah, yeah, he does have a backbone and he like knows what he wants out of like a job, like earlier in the show he says no to quitting his 9 to 5 for a startup with the younger coworkers, and he's like well liked by people. Like he is a nice guy. His coworkers enjoy his company and his boss at his 9 to 5 thinks he's a good guy. He knows what he wants, he knows who he is, aside from just like being a lonely dude in his late 30s in a dead end job, I guess. But like he's like, I don't want to do this if you're going to be mean to me about it. Like this, you want my help? Okay, but be nice to me. Like, you know?
Right. He doesn't need them. Like he kind of gets pulled into this job, but he doesn't need them
Mhm.
because he's doing really well in Peeps's world too. So like the kind of natural progression that I thought we would see was he's thriving in Peeps's world. He's got a business that's making a ton of money. He's making a ton of money. His bed is comfortable there. He eats better there. He has friendships there. So like my thought was the natural progression is going to be he's going to basically want to stay there. But now he's being pulled into this that's kind of keeping him from doing his not biddings, doing his business.
Mhm.
And he's like, no, I don't need this. I can just go to Peeps's world and like just chill. So he definitely stands up for himself. He knows what he wants, and it's nice to see a character who is fully formed. He's a fully formed adult. He is okay with being lonely. He's not sad lonely. He knows himself. He knows his likes and dislikes, and he knows not to let this dude walk all over him or treat him like some common criminal almost.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned the progression of things because I always assume like when we see a magical world that that's where the villain's going to be. So I was thinking that something was going to go wrong with like him trading things in the other world because he's trading like pencils and paper and like Swiss Army knives and binoculars, like things you can get at like the Dollar Tree because this other world is very different, right? It's like renaissance-y kind of like kings and queens and things like that. And so obviously they're not going to have binoculars and things like that. So it's like good on Sasaki and Peeps for like coming up with this plan to simply make money. Like good for you. And so I thought that the villain was going to be like, oh no, he like made the king mad, or like they found him out, right? That like things were not going to go well. But it looks like the bad guy might be in Japan and not in Peeps's world. But again, we're only one episode in, so things could still go wrong in the other world. We still have, I think, 12 or 13, 11, 12 episodes left.
Right. What are your predictions for what's to happen in the rest of the season? So then we can look back and see how right we were.
I think we'll see Sasaki's magic get stronger. I think he will learn more spells and finally master teleportation on his own. I would like to see if Peeps changes, like, and doesn't remain a bird. If he's a star sage, which I'm assuming is like a mage, then maybe he can shapeshift and he's not stuck as a bird. I think that would be really interesting. I also am hoping that there is no romance. I hope it's just magic and figuring out the differences in magic using the back and forth thing.
It's interesting that you mentioned Peeps in his bird form because they, at least in this 48-minute episode, we don't see anybody else in the magical world. We don't see another creature like him that is an animal with powers. So it makes you wonder, is he unique? Was he punished? Was he banished? Like, he was reincarnated, but why? Why is he a bird? I really want to know what's going on with Peeps because it's so random. But he did say something like, "Oh, they won't bother you in Peeps's world. Oh, they won't bother you, Sasaki, if you just tell them I'm your familiar." So, like, obviously, there's a presence of people with their animals, but it doesn't seem like there's another creature like him. So I'm curious to find out a little bit of his backstory. I'm really interested in that, and I hope that we get that in the rest of the season.
I think we will. And if his world is as magical as we are thinking it is, we'll probably run into creatures at some point. Hopefully creatures that can talk too, because that would be really, really fun to have like a dog suddenly talks to Sasaki and he thinks it's the coolest thing ever,
I think we've hit every point. We've almost talked as long as the episode.
Yes. Yep, and that sounds about right. Without actually going frame by frame of the episode. So I think that's
there's a lot to say. There's a lot to dive into with this.
It was a long episode.
Right.
And like I said in the beginning, I don't think this is going to skyrocket to a favorite of mine, but I am enjoying the content so far. So I look forward to what the rest of the series brings and how Sasaki and Peeps are going to continue their back and forth.
Yeah, same here. And, going forward for us, as far as these anime reacts go, we are going to be picking series that we know very little about and neither of us have watched, neither of us have really heard a lot about. So if you have any suggestions, please let us know. We are looking for some fun content. I know we both prefer things that are a little shorter in nature instead of, a 4-season 800 episode series. Like, we're not going to dive into Naruto or One Piece.
Right. Right. Yeah. So if you do have suggestions for, series that are, there's not a whole lot of hype around, they can be newer series, they can be older series, things that are between 12 and 24 episodes are kind of what we're looking for. So feel free to leave those in the comments.
And thank you for watching us and joining us on our mayhem today.
Yes, thank you so much. And so you don't miss out on more mayhem, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we will continue to use our microphones for all of the mayhem just for you.
Yes, we will. We hope you enjoy, and thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.